Good morning. Okay, today we want to look at a certain evil under the sun. Sometimes people ask and wonder why good people suffer or why bad people seem to be prospering. Especially, this is a big deal for religious people and people who claim to be following God in a certain direction or in a certain perspective. For instance, you may be going to school with somebody, you are studying hard, doing everything possible, but it turns out in life that the person is far ahead, has succeeded, things are going well for the person, and you who was more intelligent, you become something that they will look at and say, you are using your intelligence, also working, but in terms of success, when they compare the two, they are far advanced than you. This is a typical problem with art students and science kind of thing. You see a lot of the scientists working hard and then just being in the scientific field and then not making much in terms of finances. Yes, when we're doing deep research and co. Then you will see somebody in the arts, they are all over the place and stuff like that. And it could be any of us. Also, you also see this in maybe marriage, where, for instance, somebody who you didn't expect to be married is married. Somebody who messed up is married. And you see somebody who was patient, who was doing the right thing, trying to find the right person, waiting for Mr. Right and all that. It turns out those people rather mess up at the end. And at the end, sometimes you realize that the people were thinking that, these people, if we want to follow scripture and all those things, they shouldn't be the successful people. They are rather enjoying their marriages and stuff like that. So these things pop up now and then, every single day. You may be working with somebody at the workplace. You are all working together. You even work harder than the person. Nobody sees you. They always see the person. And sometimes you will notice that maybe your boss, you are always faithful, doing all kinds of stuff. The day your boss comes, that's the only person they notice and stuff like that. So people tend to ask themselves why. What have they done wrong? And why is it that they are rather choosing to do the right thing, and then it seems as if they are suffering for just wanting to be good or for just wanting to be right? Then it brings the question of whether doing the right thing is worth it at all. Then it also brings the question of whether we should stay on the path of righteousness and continue seeking God, especially if our quest of seeking God and following the things God has said is leading us nowhere. So how do we answer this question of righteousness and suffering, or evil and prosperity? It's a difficult thing to grapple with, and if you find yourself in this situation, you should know that it's a common thing and it happens. And the question is, so should you continue doing the right thing? And sometimes this is what makes some people backslide or even stop following God, because think about somebody who has become a believer, and then all of a sudden he realizes that when I was not a believer, I was better off. And for some people, it is so, they were better off. Some of them may not be doing anything extraordinarily bad, but their cunning ways and go, they were better off, they were more comfortable. Now they become a believer, it's like they are struggling. Sometimes you may see somebody who was into prostitution, and all of a sudden the person has now become a Christian. And the person can tell you that when I was prostituting, at least what to eat, what to wear was not an issue. But now that I've decided to follow God, I'm really, really struggling. And I'm trying to do these regular jobs and the rest. What is in it for me? Is it really worth it to pursue this course? I want to give you 3 or 4 answers to this problem. Number one is the fact that there is a general assumption that prosperity means that God has blessed you. And even in the script in the Bible, you see this all the time. That people feel that the fact that you are moving forward in life is a sign that God is on your side. It is not always so. When you take even the story of Job, God was with him and God was watching and God had not given up on him, and God preserved his life because God told Satan that don't touch his soul. So God was watching. And at the end of the day, what did God do? God turned things around. But what if God doesn't turn things around for you? What if there is no light at the end of the tunnel? And some people actually perish in their righteousness. So you may be tempted to think, maybe my mother followed God diligently, it didn't pay off. And I'm also following God. I think I have to advise myself and cut corners. We have to have that understanding that prosperity does not mean that God is with you. Moving forward in life does not also mean that God is with you. That is why we have to make a conscious effort to ensure that God is with us in our lives. So let's bear that at the back of our mind any day, any time. And I'm saying this so that number 2, you will not envy people and you will not be concerned about the fact that it is not going your way. Because some of these things stir up jealousy, it stirs up hatred. Because it's like somebody, sometimes, to be honest, you are more deserving than some of these people, but they are rather getting things easy. It can stir up jealousy. Sometimes you go on social media, you see somebody, happy, changing dresses, all those stuff. This also goes to our ladies anyway. Don't be too moved by these things. Stay focused. Stay in your lane. Everybody is on a different track. The most important thing is to get to your destination. Some people may get there early. Some people may get there later. Some people may never get there. But at the end of the day, I'll just give you some scriptures that can help you in this our life, so that you don't lose sight of being righteous. And I want you to know that being righteous is actually worth it. It's actually worth it. Christ is the best explanation. Christ is the best, regardless of what you are going through, regardless of what you are experiencing. Christ is the best. And just stay true to God. And I'm sure He will come true for you. But if God doesn't come true for you, don't let worry prevent you from also enjoying your life. We are all in stages of our lives. Sometimes the pain can be enjoyed. How do I mean by you can enjoy the pain? Well, if it's an issue of you don't have what to eat, what to wear, if you are sick and the rest, sometimes the lessons you get from these things can help you. And the type of friendships you can build even from these things can be very resourceful, because these type of things, they help you to focus on good people and people who really care about you and people who really love you. And that is the truth, because at least Job got to know that these are the people who really are called my friends. Until then, he didn't know they could do some of the things that they did. So the poetic book of Job helps us to see some of these things, as to whether Job was a real character in real life or is something we should learn from. It's not the subject of discussion for today, but the fact that It helps you to cherish certain moments. And if we value this, you will not allow frustration to make you feel that you are nothing or you are useless. Because sometimes after you have gone through certain phases of life and you look back, you wish that when you're going through those times, you didn't say some things, you didn't do some things. So I'm saying this to encourage you, try to enjoy your life, whatever state you find yourself. Stay in your lane, stay focused. Just focus on your life. If people are moving forward, moving faster, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you are the best of who you can be. Just make sure, just ask yourself that if you sit down and look at your life, have you made the best of choices, the best of decisions? And that should be enough. That should be enough for you. Don't let the words of people also, because the words of people are heavy and they can be like stones intended to pull you down. Because sometimes what people will say about your situation is even heavier than what you are going through. That is why you shouldn't let what people say be your focus. Try as much as possible not to give up, because we are not all on the same path. Let those who are moving forward, let them move forward. You to strive to move forward. Sometimes we need wisdom. Sometimes we need prayer and wisdom. Sometimes we need prayer, wisdom, and a certain favor. These three things, they really count in making it. Prayer, wisdom, and favor. But above all, you will need a lot of wisdom to be able to make it. Because many people, sometimes you are a righteous person, and there are many good people who actually don't make any attempt or take risks. They are genuinely good people. But wisdom will require you to take certain risks to put yourself at a certain place. And that's what I'm saying, that it's not all about being good. Sometimes some people who were good, for example, in the marriage situation, wisdom will help you to be cautious. That is why the Bible encourages us to have wisdom. I'm not saying you won't make mistakes, because some people, the mistake was too sudden. You may have heard of somebody, the person was waiting for Mr. Right, and he or she thought this was it, and only to realize that this person came to just play with their heart and mess them up. So they will ask themselves that, is it good that they were waiting? They were virgins, doing everything possible to please God, only to experience what they experienced. It is not always that some is a lack of wisdom or a lack of foresight. Sometimes it just happens. But it shouldn't prevent us from enjoying what God has done for us and the life that God has given us and the value of what is around us. And let us remember that we all have just one life. We are all striving for eternity. We are trusting and depending on the word of God to find a better place in eternity. But the scriptures don't prevent us from enjoying our current life and also making impact and making good use of the life that we have, regardless of whatever we are going through. Everybody will experience a certain kind of suffering and a certain kind of pain. And just know that fulfillment of life is not money. Sometimes it is good that people who say those things are people who have money, or people who have at least, because sometimes when you don't have it and you are speaking, it looks as if you're a philosopher. But when you have it and you know that fulfillment of life It's not in money. Fulfillment of life is not in a career. Fulfillment of life is as the scriptures have described it. Number one, to please God. Number two, to love others. And number three, to have a mind ready for the end of our lives and eternity. And as you are working to please God, you will by all means end up loving people, because you can't love God and not love people. And the reason why eternity should be on our mind, it prevents us from having unnecessary grudges, necessary hatred, necessary jealousy, only to see that we are all lost people waiting to be redeemed. For this cause, we have to encourage ourselves. So let me just give you something from Ecclesiastes, which says, Solomon was contemplating, that is, if Solomon is the author, he says, "For all this I considered in my heart, even to declare all this, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. No man knoweth either love or hatred by all that is before them. All things come alike to all. There is one event to the righteous and to the wicked, to the good and to the clean and to the unclean, to him that sacrificeth and to him that sacrificeth not. As is the good, so is the sinner, and he that sweareth as he that feareth an oath." So this is something Solomon was also contemplating, because it looks as if at the end of the day, what at all is the value of life? And somebody will ask, if Christians are thinking about eternity, why should they be concerned about this life? But you don't need to be a Christian. And my answer here is not to Christians, it's to everybody. Muslims, traditionalists, whoever you are. I just want you to know that this is the reality of life. There are people who have gone against so many norms and so many rules, but they are okay, comfortable. There are people who have obeyed everything there is to obey, but things don't seem to work. And this is one thing that Solomon is battling and dealing with. Because sometimes we know that the righteous are supposed to excel. But sometimes the righteous go through turbulent times. But just because things are not working doesn't mean the hand of God is not in it. And I want you to know that Christ is the best answer for all these things. And let me read Ecclesiastes 8. Let me take it from verse 9. "All this I have seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own head. And so I saw the wicked buried, who had come and gone from the place of the holy, and they were forgotten in the city where they had so done. This also is vanity. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him." And it continues on and on. It shall be well with you. And the Bible has said in other places, "Say to the righteous, it is well with him." You see, it didn't say to the righteous, things will work out, or you will succeed, or you will have money. No. It is well with you. And it's a blessing you must really think about, that it is well with you in the midst of your hardship. Of course, the hope I'm giving you will not put food on your table. The hope I'm giving you will not change your situation overnight. Sometimes even the many prayers you are praying will not change your situation for 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years. But it is well with you. Just have faith. Once you have a life, Ecclesiastes 9 verse 4 says, For to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. So, my dear friend, once you have a life, sometimes when we encourage people and we tell them that, oh, once you have life, there is hope. It's in the scriptures, as I've read to you, Ecclesiastes 9 verse 4. People feel that, oh, what is the use of living if we don't even have what it takes to be alive? But let me tell you that no matter how bad your situation is, there is somebody worse than you. And when we start appreciating the life God has given us, and we start appreciating where God has placed us and what God has put us into and why we are where we are, when we start appreciating it, we will know that it's all worth it. At the end of the day, God is the one who has a big picture. For this cause, I want to encourage you to be steadfast. Kindly remember to share on TikTok, share on WhatsApp, encourage somebody who is going through something, especially those who we all know. We all know people who are doing things right to please God, but sometimes they may be doing the things right and not doing other things right, because we can't get everything correct all the time, because we are fallible. But however, encourage somebody and be strong, and I know God will help us.